Now that we're in episode 7, here's a quick recap. The day of Covery's demolition has arrived. Grace is determined to do whatever she can to stop it while Bob Whitmore prepares for a big announcement. It's the Greenleafs versus Harmony and Hope, and neither will go down without a fight. Meanwhile, Lady May tries to negotiate for the mansion. But a reveal about the original owner prompts Bishop to reveal something of his own. Hey guys, it's Tutu here. Now that I've given you a quick recap of episode 7 of season 5 of Greenleaf, now I'm going to tell you my pros and cons and later my predictions. So let's get into it. So my first favorite scene was a scene between Grace and Noah. And, they go see the housekeeper. This is the scene where they go see the housekeeper. And so he basically tells them, for a shorter version of it, is that Daryl James was Miss Davis's son. And I was like, what? That doesn't even make any sense. Like, how is that possible? And so, so Grace was like, were they lovers and stuff? And the housekeeper was like, oh God, no. And I was like, what do you mean by oh God, no? And then Noah and Grace were like, is it because he's black? And he's like, no. The person that used to come to Miss Davis's house, Daryl James, was her son. And I was very shocked. I'm like, if Miss Davis is white and he's black, I'm like, who's the father? You know what I mean? Is he like a biracial kid? I'm not even trying to be racist about that, but because I'm not saying like a person who's white can't have a black child, because the way they were telling the story was the way that they made it seem like Miss Davis was ashamed to have a black child as her son. So that's why I'm saying that, because they made it seem like Miss Davis was very embarrassed of having a child who was black that was her child. So that was like back in the day, like way back in the day, where it was like segregation and probably all that stuff. So, But anyways, why I love that scene was the fact that, it was a shocking surprise. I liked the surprise. I was just like, interesting. I would have never thought that, that would have been the answer. I would have never thought that was the answer. Why I hated that scene, though, was the fact that it gave me such a kind of weird vibe. Because the minute the housekeeper was like, oh, that's her son. And she didn't want anybody to know that was her son. And the way, if you go back and look at it, Noah, like, did this with his shoulders. He was like, he did, like, some type of, like, that's kind of creepy look. And, Grace just looked there, like, shocked, too. And it didn't help the scene. So I was like, ooh, that made me feel a bit creepy. That's why I hated it. Anyway, moving on, though, right? My second favorite scene was the scene between AJ and Bishop in the garage, I would say. So Bishop and AJ were in the garage, because they were planning to fix the car, or apparently planning to fix the car, but that didn't even end up happening. So, but anyway, Bishop and AJ were in the car Bishop and AJ were in in Bishop's garage. And so, AJ is just like, looking around before Bishop comes, and then Bishop comes in and he's like, oh, this is how far you got with the car. And he's like, yeah, I couldn't really, I tried, but I just couldn't, And so then Bishop says this interesting thing. He's like, can I sit down with you for a minute? I just want to talk to you about something. And AJ was like, yeah, sure, okay. And so he's like, have you ever been saved? Have you ever gone to church? This and that. And, AJ is like, no, I never really did church, not really. And even when I was in jail, I never really, committed to that either. So, Bishop being Bishop, he was just like, well, if you do want to get saved, all it takes is a prayer. And I was like, all right, I see you, Bishop, because Bishop is such a loving guy, and he wants to know, like, it's at some point you can always turn to God. It might not be now, but I just want you to know, when you do choose to do that, I want to be here for you. And I was like, oh, Bishop, he was so cute. He's like, all it takes is a prayer. You don't need to do the baptism. You just need to sit down, put all your problems to God, and he'll take it for you. And he said the nicest thing. He was like, the day you do that, he was like, I hope I'm there. I hope I'm still alive to see you commit your life to God. And so it was such an amazing feeling, because you could tell that Bishop really got to AJ. And so now, why I love that scene, like I said before, was the fact that you could tell that AJ really loved what Bishop was telling him. Like, AJ was really listening. Like, you could see that AJ was getting through. Like, Bishop was getting through to AJ. And, AJ was really taking it in, and he was like, that's going to be for a while, but, Now, why I hated that scene, though, why I hated the scene was the fact that when Bishop was saying that, after he finished saying all those things that he said, it was like, AJ was like, oh, that might take a while. And then he said something like, oh, yeah, okay, like, take your time, no rush. And the way he said it, and his body language in that scene with AJ in the garage, was really, that gave me like a red flag. I was like, okay, something is definitely happening to Bishop. Like, something is definitely going to happen to Bishop in this episode. Like, that scene itself, like the way his body language was, and how he was like, yeah, sure, take your time. There's no rush. I was like, why did Bishop say it like that? That's why I hated that scene. I've already told you why I liked it, so moving on. My third favorite scene was the scene between Darius and Grace in the car. That was an amazing scene. I loved it. I was like, this is what a lot of people have been waiting for, who are team Darius and Grace. Like, this is it. So they're in the car. They talk about how they got the church back, and how Grace was very surprised that, it's all over. And, and he's like, how do you feel? And she's like, I feel great. I feel okay. And then they kiss. And it was such an amazing feeling. They kiss. And I was like, oh! It was like angels like came down behind me and was like, oh! I was like, oh my God, they kissed. So, why I love that scene, because you could see the passion in their kiss. Like, it was one of my favorite scenes to see. It was like, you could see the passion in it. You could see like, oh wow, like they still like each other kind of passion. And so that's why I loved it. Why I hated it though, because it's like, okay, Darius and Grace kissed. But the real question is now, are they going to end up together in the series finale? Like, are they going to end up choosing each other in the end of it? Because I'm like, they're doing all this kissing in that scene, but at the end of the day, it's like, are they going to actually end up together though? Because like I said before in my last videos, Grace looks like a person who is just like always in the moment, but at the end of the day, wants to be by herself, be a single mother, just do everything by herself. That's why when they kissed, I was like, I loved it, but I also hated them kissing, because I'm just like, does this mean that they're gonna get back together, or it's just a little moment that they had? That's why I hated that scene, because I'm like, does this mean like Grace is choosing Darius? And we're not gonna really know into the series finale which pissed me off because I was just like, oh, like, I'm like, because you guys know Darius was winning from day one. Like, I think the first episode it was, Grace went to Darius and was like, I need your help. And I was like, yeah, Darius is in the lead. He's already in the lead with Noah. Like, Noah is a bit behind, but Darius, he was in the lead. So anyway, moving on. My third favorite scene was the scene between Sophia and Zora, when Zora was in Sophia's room with her. And so Zora is asking Sophia, like, why don't you just ask your mom to give you the money so that you can give the money to me so I can live in New York? And, Sophia was like, well, yeah, she has a lot of money, but I don't want to do that. Like, why can't you just wait for your parents to get everything settled and then you can fly to New York when it's actually the right time? And Zora being herself, she was like, why don't you ask your mom? And Sophia was like, bro, like, you just want me to come to New York with you so that I can help you pay for things. So why the hell will I ask my mother for that, And, Zora being herself again, she was like, so this is why you're being salty. She's like, but you're not making any sense, Zora. Like, 1 minute you're telling me to go back to Hampton, and the next minute you're telling me to stay with you in New York so I can pay for things. And I was like, yes, tell her, Sophia, tell her. So now, why I love that scene was the fact that, you could see that Sophia was trying to stand up for herself. Like, you could see that Sophia was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. So that's why I like the scene. I'm gonna tell you, I have 2 reasons why I hate the scene now. Why I hated that scene. I have 2 reasons why I hated that scene with Sophia and Zora in the bedroom. So, why I hated that scene was the fact that Zora was so much like Carissa again. I'm like, here we go. See, it's like seeing Carissa in Zora. I'm like, are we talking as Carissa the one acting or Zora is? I'm like, can they like you could tell that Zora was so much like her mother, and I was like, like, I hate seeing that kind of scene. I'm like, can Zora be her own individual? Like, can the writers kind of like stop making her be Carissa every other time? Like, because I feel like sometimes she's herself and then other times she's like playing the Carissa character, and it's just like, The second reason why I hated that scene, though, was the fact that towards the end of what Zora told Sophia was like, oh, I have to think about it. I'll think about it. And Zora was like, oh, well, hurry up because I'm leaving tonight. And I was like, seriously, Sophia? You just was doing all this talking about, oh, I'm not going to do that to my mom. I'm not going to ask her for money so I can give you her money to you, this and that. And then you're like, oh, I'm going to have to think about it. And I was like, what the hell? Like, you were just doing all this preaching and talking and saying like, oh, that's not going to happen. And then you sooner or later are like, well, okay, maybe I'll think about it. And that was my second reason why I hated the scene. But I loved it because it was just like, cousins being cousins, talking and, having like a moment. And also Sophia like going, like, I don't want to do that and stuff. So now, my 5th and final favorite scene, before I move on to my predictions, the scene between Lady May and Bishop in the room. So prior to that, this was the worst scene because it wasn't the worst scene, let me not say that. But it was between Bishop and Lady May in their bedroom. And this scene, like, I almost teared up. Like, I had to hold myself. So prior to that, Lady May is getting all dressed up. She's wearing lingerie. She's putting on perfume. She's rushing lotion. She's looking at herself in the mirror. A calm before the storm kind of thing. And, you know, she's looking out. She's like, all right. And then she comes and storming into her room and she's like, Bishop, I don't even know why I said we should wait to Flag Day. After everything that's happened today, I think we should celebrate. I think we should get married tomorrow, this and that. And so she's just talking and going and going. And then the camera, and then you see Bishop. Bishop is standing up, you know, he was reading the Bible and stuff. But Bishop was looking, you know, Bishop was kind of looking kind of stiff. And I didn't realize he was looking kind of stiff because I was like, oh, Bishop is standing up. He's reading the Bible. And so as the camera comes in closer to him, he is not moving. And I said, Bishop. I said, no. I said, Bishop, like, you need to move. And then as the camera again kept coming closer and then turned to the other side of his face, you could see his face kind of slumped down when his eyes closed and he not being able to talk correctly. And I said, God, I said, Lord Jesus, I said it. I said, Bishop is gone. And Lady May is, you know, still kind of talking, and then she realizes something is wrong. And then she's like, Bishop, oh my God, Bishop. Long story short, she calls 911. And then, you know, Bishop is like, oh, get me a pen. And, you know, Lady May is helping him write what he wants to say. And then Lady May was like, I do what? You do what? And he's like, I do. And she's like, I do too, my love. And I said, And once Lady May said that, Bishop just started going back. He just started laying back. And his eyes was closed. I said, no. I was like, what the hell? I was literally like, did that just happen? Did Bishop just die in the second to last episode before the finale? I was like, what the bloody hell? I was so mad. Like, I was literally so angry. I was like, Keith David, who plays Bishop, plays a huge part in the show. Like, how are the writers literally going to just kill him off the show like that when it's about to be the series finale next week? I was so sad and so angry. Like, I was just like, did they really just kill the Bishop right now? Did they really just kill him right now? Did they really just do that? So, why I love that scene, because, you know, Lady May was getting all romantic and she was ready to get it down with the Bishop. And I was like, okay, I see you, Lady May. She came in prepared. She was like, yes, all of that. I said, yes, give it to him. Let him know, you know, get funky with it. I was like, I'm all in, Lady May. Go ahead, do your thing, girl. That's why I love the scene, because I was like, all right. Because I love the romantic scenes between them. Like, Lady May and Bishop kill it, like, every single time. So I was like, all right. Now, why I hated that scene was the fact that I said they killed off Bishop. I was so mad. I'm like, you guys are choosing now to kill the Bishop off. Like, really? Really? That's why I hated that scene. I already told you why I loved it, but I hated it because, like, I said, oh my God, Bishop is having a heart attack. And I knew after seeing that scene between AJ and him and how he said the last thing with all his body language looking all weird, I said, oh my God, Bishop is dead. The nigga is dead. But you're thinking in your mind, like, is he really dead? Like, is he dead, or is he just in a coma? Or is he still alive, but just can't move and stuff? I was like, is it all the above? Because they love leaving us in suspense. So I was just like, you know what? I'm going to have to wait till next Tuesday to really find it out. But that's why I was so mad. That's why I hated that scene. Because I was like, oh my God, they killed my Bishop, Bishop James. I was like, no. I was like, oh God, I got to wear black next Tuesday. But I loved it because you could see the chemistry between Lady May and Bishop. Like, you could see the chemistry there. Like, it was beautiful. So that's why I loved it too. Anyway, moving on. Now to my predictions. All right. So my first prediction is that I think AJ is going to get back. My first prediction is that I think AJ is going to get baptized in the series finale. You know, and let me tell you why I think that. I think that because, like, I could tell while the writers were going with him, like, I could just tell where they were going with AJ's character for the series finale. Like, it was just so obvious of where it was heading. So now, that's why I'm saying that I predict that he's going to get baptized. I think AJ is going to, you know, give his life to Christ, you know. Anyway, my second prediction is that Grace is going to want to know more about the Sophia issue with the pics. And why I say that is because Sophia ended up telling on herself to Grace. And I was like, Zora, you smart. You knew what you were doing when she came in here lying and saying that, oh, I told your mom about your pics and how you didn't want to go back to Hampton. I was like, So I think Grace is definitely going to want to know more about, like, what pictures that Sophia sent to Dante and stuff. Like, because I was like, literally when that scene happened, I was like, Sophia, why would you tell on yourself? Like, your mom is too busy to know what's going on with you right now. And then she tells on herself, and Grace didn't even know about the pics. She was like, baby, what pics? And Sophia was like, ooh, this bitch. I am so getting her. So I think, like I said, for my second prediction, Grace is going to want to know more about the whole titty pics with Sophia. Anyway, my third prediction is that Lady May is going to be Lady May is going to be depressed because everything that's going on with, you know, Bishop. I think Lady May is definitely going to be depressed. I don't know if you would say that's really a prediction and more of a given than a prediction. Like, I think it's, like, obviously clear that's what's going to happen. So I think she's definitely going to be depressed. That's my third prediction. But I think my second prediction for her is that after the depression, I think she's eventually gonna, you know, accept it, whatever the situation is, good or bad with Bishop. I think she's gonna accept that at some point and, you know, move forward with the future and everything. So my fourth prediction is that AJ is finally going to forgive Grace and move on with happiness. I think AJ is finally going to forgive Grace. Like, I feel like AJ is finally gonna be like, you know what? We've come a long way. And I feel like I also predict when he finally forgives Grace that he's gonna say mom, like the word mom, M-O-M, for the first time. Like, he's gonna say mom for the first time when he finally forgives, you know, Grace. So I think that's what's gonna happen. My fifth and last prediction is that I don't think Sophia's gonna go back to Hampton. At least not yet. I don't think she's gonna go back to Hampton in the series finale. For the series finale. And I think my second prediction for her too is that I think she's going to confront confront Zora about lying about telling her mom about her pics. You know, I think she's going to confront Zora for the second prediction for Sophia. So that's it, y'all. That is literally all my pros and cons, and later and after my predictions. You know, that's all of it. I've given you everything. So now please subscribe, ring the notification bell so you can be up to date of everything I do, of Greenleaf and other shows coming soon. And also please like and comment if you can. That would be great. But that's it, y'all. See you next week for the series finale, which sucks so bad. I'm like, no. But, you know, everything has to come to an end. But that's it, y'all. Love you guys. Bye.